how can I give first without expecting anything in return? The world will be a better place, and that's exactly what Esron is all about as well. Is listen, let's give the business an opportunity to be sustainable so that we can impact the people.
Who are the guys, the mentors that trained you along and built you into those positions?
I delve in the unknown within corporate spaces, SMMEs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and assist in navigating, not actually doing the work, but positioning these businesses and our own business for the right direction.
Question of whether or not you believe that you are currently in the right place.
I think if I have to position myself, and this is always a moving target.
Before we start this podcast, I've got one little favor to ask you. Can you please hit the subscribe button down below so we can help more people every single week? Thank you. Welcome to the Right Place podcast, where we learn with you how to navigate the world by building connections that matter, relationships that last, and businesses that thrive. My name is Rudolf Rautenbach, and today I have a conversation with Jordaan Jacobs. Jordaan is the CEO of Esron Projects, and he's also the MD of the PG Group. Jordaan, it's nice to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me, Rudolf. I appreciate the invite and the enthusiasm that you guys are doing this. Absolutely awesome.
Great, thanks, man. You regard yourself as a corporate adventurer. Why is that, Jordaan?
I actually get this question more often than I would like, but I believe that one should be authentic to yourself throughout your life and your career, and I've really embedded from a young age into sports. And in 2018, at the end of 2017, I got introduced to this concept of adventure racing, which is a self-sustainable, self-navigating expedition, basically, that goes over 24 hours and multiple disciplines at a minimum: mountain biking, kayaking, and hiking. And because it's self-navigating and self-sustaining, you tend to get lost quite often, more than I would believe. And from 2018 until now, I've done quite a number of these events that they span over different distances, but the longest one I've done is 120 kilometers, 24 hours odd of racing. And within one of those low periods within the team, one of my teammates looked at me and said, "Jordaan, this is just like business. It's awful, but in retrospect, amazing." And it was in that moment that I realized, listen, we push ourselves and we do all of these fantastic adventure, nature, sporting elements, but it's exactly like business. There's so many parallels to it, where the unknown is unknown, the future is unknown. You don't know what's going to happen next. You only have what's available to you, your current context, your current geography, all of those elements. And in these events of adventure racing, your biggest friend is your direction. It's not how you get there, but it's actually the decision you take to get there. So we put the term corporate adventurer together because in business, and when we consult with clients or meet with customers, that's exactly what happens. You step into a conversation unknown of all of the elements, the emotion, the biases, the background. Everything's unknown. So you have to figure out on the spot, listen, what's the best way of approaching a conversation? And then after you get some context within a conversation, what's the best position for or direction that you need to move in? So to put a long answer short, is I delve in the unknown within corporate spaces, SMMEs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and assist in navigating, not actually doing the work, but positioning these businesses and our own business for the right direction with the current circumstances that we have. Thinking, listen, we might have a destination 2 years, or in the adventure racing space, 80 kilometers from now. What's the best optimal route to get there? Yes, it might not be easy, but we navigate what's in front of us and next to us. And a big part of that is the people element. Within adventure racing and obviously a business, we are people first. And you need to navigate these different complexities between personalities, who's feeling strong today, who's feeling less strong, who needs a bottle of water, who needs maybe a coach in the corporate environment, who needs that little bit of a morale support in there. So putting these two similarities together within business and adventure racing puts me as I'm a corporate individual, but I love adventure racing, and these two actually blend exceptionally well together. You find these nice touch points between between both of them. So that's where the term corporate adventurer came from.
And it's very interesting, and if you get to know me a little bit, you'll understand that I'm a big sports fanatic, and what you just explained and how you spoke about it actually strikes a big chord with me in terms of how the analogies within a sporting environment actually helps us to live as better human beings overall, but also to do better business. And so that makes a lot of sense. You started Esron Projects a while ago. How do you ensure that you solve the right problems, having taken into account what you've just spoken about there as well?
Yo, I'll be honest, Rudolf, none of us gets it right always the first time. But I think for us, for me as a person and for the team, it's quite important to make a decision with what we have fairly quickly. As soon as you make a decision, you get new data points back and you can iterate from there. If you just make a decision and you plot along, you might end up in the wrong direction or at the wrong space. But for us, it's about making a decision, getting new data points back, and reevaluating that. And if we're moving in the right direction, there's positive feedback, positive senses coming back to the business or into Esron, then we continue on that route. If there's some flags that might be stating, listen, this might not be the correct way or the correct time, then we reevaluate and say, we've now gathered information, more information to make a better informed decision. But before we make a decision, what's quite important is to understand consultant or an external view always as a blank canvas. We don't see, or normal external views do not see limitations. They don't have emotional biases. They don't see the problems. They see different perspectives. They see different solutions. I was in a strategy session last week, Friday afternoon, where the company actually told them, listen, we don't know where our customer base is. And just from me engaging with the conversation, asking fairly mundane questions, I could list 3 or 4 different avenues, which 2 of them they haven't even explored yet. Just because I haven't been in the rat race and I'm emotionally invested in certain past decisions, or am just completely new and open to new opportunities. So it's really getting to understand what they already know. And usually the answer is within these businesses. From the chaos of what they tell you, you start painting the picture, and then you can come along and ask probing questions and stabbing questions. Listen, but let's color this story in. Does this make sense? Yes or no? And so forth. And by doing that, you get them involved in actually realizing the answer instead of just giving the answer. No single person has the correct answer. It's all about the collective approach within the solution part of it. So solving the right problem starts off with peer engagement. And then once you've gotten enough data, make a decision. Get data points back, get feedback, and iterate on that.
Yeah, very good. I quite enjoy that. It makes me think of this blue ocean view that some people are, because you are outside, you can see a bigger picture, and we all get stuck in our own small problems or our own ways, and we can't get to that point where we see how certain things can just be connected together.
Yeah.
For your answer, I imagine that a lot of your work then goes around that. What makes what you do within Esron different from any other consultancy or business consultancy business?
This is always a beautiful one. I can give you the sales pitch curated answer on how we get to your strategy in one day, or how the project management team is efficient and delivers. But I think for me and the team, what truly sets us apart is our goal, the Esron goal, or what we want to achieve. We want to impact as many people as we can, as quickly as possible, for the positive benefit thereof. So we know we have limited resources, finances, geographical reach, time, all of those elements. So when we take that into consideration, if we take that goal and we have these limitations, how do we bridge that? So our goal is we support businesses to become sustainable in growth and grow. And within every business, there's employees, there's employers. Yes, the stakeholders and the shareholders obviously benefit from a growing business. But if they can employ 10 more people or give increases in the next 3 or 4 years, with every employee, there's a household at the back end. And the domino effect of positively impacting businesses then has this nice cascading effect onto people, which is what our end goal is. So if we say we partner with our clients and we want to support them, we partner at a deeper level because we understand that we are people first. We're not just balance sheets and P&Ls and income statements. There's something behind it, something that's driving it. And this business needs to support this employee base and employer base. Yes, as I mentioned, the shareholders, usually if we come on board and there's growth, they obviously benefit, but we see that as a multiplier effect. One business supported with 50 employees at an average household of 3, there's 150 people positively impacted. So if we can get that right on 100 businesses, we are able to support multiple generations of positive impact.
Well, that's a great goal to have. I mentioned at the beginning, Jordaan, that you're also the MD of the PG group, so you're still relatively young, much younger than me. But how did you get to that point of running the business almost at such a young age?
Well, Rudolf, thank you. I'll take it as a compliment. So I've been asked this question quite often, and I think the answer is a question, sort of a theoretical, open-ended question: is what is success? What does the top mean for everyone? And I think it differs for different individuals as well as in the context of their life on where they are. But I can say everything that we have has been a blessing from God, and what we did with it, our abilities, that's on us. We need to extract as much of our abilities, cognitive, emotional, all of that, and plow that back into people, back into business. So I think I've been successful at a relatively young age to reach a certain milestones. Yes, that might be true from a normal landscape. And that is due to a number of factors. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago at the University of Pretoria where I addressed them on a CEO's guide on how to show up. And the answer for me is on the showing up portion. I think from a very early stage in my career, I've been consistent. I've been showing up at work, good, bad days, bad project, good projects. I've been showing up consistently. I've been delivering on a consistent basis throughout, and that has come now over many years of working and prior to a professional career. The second element, something that I had to learn quite early in my career, and I had to learn the hard way, is just being good at executing is not good enough. How you do it, how you engage, who you empower, how do you learn, how do you teach? Again, wrapping that human element into it and engaging on a very empathetic, sympathetic element into your team, into how do you lead upwards, how do you lead sideways, and getting the people to move in the same direction. And I had to learn, I'm quite results orientated or good results orientated. So I had to learn, listen, there's an element of development. Let's step back. Let the risk that you perceive is going to happen, let it happen. and then you empower 3 or 4 other individuals to learn from that. Simon Sinek's book on Leaders Eat Last really guided me on that and helped me. Listen, step back, see how you can extract the most of the people, help them feel empowered. So I think those 2 elements on being consistent in your delivery of your work, do what is expected of you when it's expected of you in the best possible quality, but who you drag along and how you drag them along in a positive environment, it really gave me a positive perception on my ability to execute work and be an asset within a business. And it's not because I put on this facade of, listen, I can do everything and I'm good with people. You need to be genuine. You need to be truly, and as I mentioned, our overall goal is to impact people. And I soon realized, listen, the more people you impact, the better it is for any business, for any social gathering, network. So for me, it was truly those 2 elements, getting things done, but how you get them done within the team and empowering this team to move along in a linear or strategic way was a crucial element to, if you want to call it corporate, the corporate ranks and getting as much knowledge as possible.
You're talking about dragging along people and getting them to learn from the experience. So if you can flip that around a bit, in your own progression then through this process, who are the guys, the mentors that dragged you along and got you into those positions then?
That is such a brilliant question. So there's something that every single engagement has a learning opportunity, good or bad. I've had good managers or mentors, and I've also had bad managers and mentors. And both of them bring something to the table. The one obviously teaches you how not to do things on how you perceive it, so that you don't project that outwards onto someone else. And then, which is something, I'm a positive individual by nature, so let's focus on the positive leaders. I worked for one of the brightest minds, one of the most clever people I've ever met for about 5 years. He was an engineer. He had multiple engineering degrees, actually, and he was put to run a business. And he wrote me in from the steel industry into my current, actually, corporate career, and said, listen, we need someone to get stuff done. That's where that stuff done element gets into. But what I learned from him is, how do you delve within the uncertainty? How do you get people to come to the party and give more of themselves? Just a pay, just remuneration is not enough. And he was able, very flamboyant manager, but through the flamboyancy, he could identify, listen, Jordaan's not feeling well today. Didn't say anything, but he could just then pop into my office or where I was and say, listen, how's things going? So that personal connection for me, that's what he taught me. And then throughout some of my studies, I had the privilege of engaging with fantastic professors, people with PhDs, and immediately, like you mentioned, some of their work resonated with me, and I purposefully engaged with them. We hosted that seminar, and that's where Dr. Keith and I met, was in one of these ones. I resonated with what he was doing, how he was doing it, and then I think a part of me is never afraid to ask. So I asked, listen, can I come and join you in the seminar? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then eventually actually being open, say, listen, Keith or whoever, can I give you a call if I need some support? And they have really been open to that. And it's finding those golden nuggets within your networks that really helps you put yourself apart, because they allow you to have conversations you won't have with your wife or with your colleagues at work. They act as independent personal advisors, not just to myself, but anyone that engages with that.
Yeah, it's very good. There's a takeaway here, I think, especially for younger business people, graduates, and so on, that we all talk about mentorship and we want a mentor. But people are not just going to come and say, listen, I want to mentor you. It works the other way around.
Yes.
You actually approach a mentor. And yes, I do believe, and myself and John have spoken about it quite a few times in the past, that you will gladly give as much as you can. if someone asks me for advice, I'm going to give it. If I'm of the capability, I can give it. If someone asks me for a bit of time to discuss an option or a potential transaction or just wants some clarity of thought, I'm going to give that. But I'm not going to
Agreed.
go and give my opinion to any random stranger just because I feel like I can be a good mentor. If someone
No,
approaches
agreed.
me, I'm going to take the time, or I'm going to connect them with someone that could be a better fit for them. But
And
it's
that's
something
such
to
a
learn that we need to ask. We need to approach.
and from a mentor's perspective, the person that asks is already open-minded.
Yeah.
So you guys can walk a path quite quicker and hit the ground sort of running. Whereas if agree, mentors won't go out of their way and say, "Listen, hey, I see you busy with this. How can I help you?" I've never seen it happen, and I doubt if
No.
it ever will, because everyone values their time over and above anything else that they do. So being me, I'm a firm believer in that. In the corporate environment, it's quite easy to identify people that requires that, and you engage with them. But I'm like you, Rudolf. I would give advice if it's asked.
So you've spoken about your studies, and we'll talk about the conference just now as well. But you've done an MBA. It's one of those things where people always joke and say, "Yeah, how do you know someone's done an MBA?" Because they've done it. So you've obviously done it. At least how I call people, you don't have to.
Yes, thank
And
you.
but can you tell me why you went that route firstly, the benefit of it in your life? What did it do for you? Did it open some doors? Did it steer you on a different path?
I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I did an additional honors in engineering, and because of the requirements at work, I was quickly positioned into management. Whereas with engineering, you sort of have 3 or 4 paths that you can take, but quickly I was put into management, and that's where I had to learn to work with people fairly quickly and not just be results orientated. And I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and then I realized, listen, I am at my threshold of what I can give from my own ability, from my own knowledge. I need additional impact into myself so that I can then extrapolate that into other people. And then also it helped from the business perspective of where I was moving. I had to understand more about finance, operation, HR, how to strategically think about businesses. So it was really a culmination of me trying to develop, to give to other people and lead other people more effectively, and then the business requirement. So it was a good synergy for me to actually do it. And to answer the question on what it did for me, I think there's various routes I can take with this answer. And just to give you a blanket one liner won't do the actual education justice. We have multiple people in the room when you do an MBA. People go far beyond just the academic learning. You personally grow and you change. The context around you might not change. Even your spouse change, your kids change. Everyone changed during this because the conversation starts getting different. It becomes more theoretical sense making of the world, from theoretical to sense making in the world, and understanding what's going on beyond it. So when people do the MBA and they tell you, high five them. It's quite a lot of effort. There's hundreds of late night hours, lost time with family, lost time with kids. And I think everyone is looking for that return on investment. And that high five is one of them, because that has proven they can do a fair amount of work. When I say fair, I mean a lot amount of work over a long period of time successfully in a certain manner. But the return on investment is not just financial. It's that time that you get by. And the colleagues that did it with me, that steered beyond just getting the piece of paper, that really changed and wanted themselves to change and evolve in this, they were the ones. They were the true winners, or are the true winners. They are now forever indefinite. They are changed. They can make sense. It's like first fundamental principles. They now have building blocks where they can just build on. Whereas with people that just went into the MBA to get the piece of paper to move to a job, yes, they got maybe a remuneration jump if they leave their current employer. But I think from a value perspective, they lost. You go through so many networking elements. You get to learn people that you won't necessarily learn from. It's a truly individual change. And I think people underestimate the power of that.
Well, it comes in a very good limit. And it's actually the way I see an MBA as well, in that it gives you this shoulder rubbing opportunity with other people from different industries, but they are also in leadership positions, different travels, and who knows, one day you might have that same problem, but you learned all about it in a classroom somewhere. By chance, just by association.
Yes, that happens. That happens more often than you would think.
I would imagine you met Dr. Keith at the MBA classes, but you also hosted the Scale Up conference in July this year, and I attended that with Reinhard Jobse as well. It was also on the podcast before. What is the Scale Up conference about? Why did you do it? Just tell us a bit about that concept.
No, perfect. Now, first of all, thanks for supporting it. It was good seeing you there. So the Scale Up conference was something that we birthed out of an article that Dr. Keith wrote for the Gordon Institute of Business Science, where entrepreneurs and founders have this choice of, do they build businesses for current value and funding a lifestyle, or funding generational wealth and corporate enterprise value? And when he shared, as I mentioned, I got to learn Dr. Keith quite well over the past couple of years. And when he shared the article with me, I picked up the phone and said, listen, Keith, more people should realize this. This is part of a strategy from the onset, not when you're 5 years down the road, because the decisions and the maneuvers that you do differ for these two pathways. And he said, yeah, sure, let's put a breakfast together. And as mentioned, I can't do anything off. I need to do it properly. So we said, listen, let's do a full-on business development seminar, see how many people we can get into the room, and speak about these things, because it's such a valuable, important aspect that people need to consider. And then in doing that, there's huge value for networking behind it. I've only attended numerous of these seminars, and I found it valuable. The people in the room, people, that shoulder rubbing exercise, you now have a possibility of meeting a new client, prospect, a supplier, a mentor at these events, whereas normally you wouldn't have had that. So it's really crucial for me to consistently engage with these seminars, and we are looking to expand that. We've had great feedback on that. And from that, we've personally gotten one or two clients thinking and asking us afterwards, listen, but if I do this, what about this? There's trade-offs. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to share the information, share the knowledge for people to make informed decisions about long-term elements within their business.
Very good. I must say, I got a lot of value out of just listening to what Keith had to say in terms of why you are owning the business. And one thing that stuck with me after that is that both of those are correct. Both of them are fine. It's just that you need to know what you are doing. You need to know if you are building a lifestyle business, or whether you are funding something that you can hand over generation to generation. And whatever your motivation is fine. But stick within this framework for that specific decision then. And it will also get a lot of your future problems out of the way from the onset. And I think definitely something to look at. We'll also reference the article. I still have it.
Perfect.
Reference the article at the end of the podcast, which I think is worth everyone's time to just read through. So you've mentioned the networking. I gained it quite early, so I had a lot of time to connect with people in advance and then in the break as well. And at some stage, I told someone that was standing next to me that the sign of success at one of these networking type events is if you need to speak louder and louder as it goes along, because people can't hear each other anymore. And it was really buzzing. So you deliberately obviously built this networking sections into the program of the day. What is
Yes.
your take on networking and getting people to connect, and yourself as well? What do you see as the value of that?
Simple answer, invaluable. Exceptional positive elements and sentiment towards networking. During one of the MBA classes, one of the he was a CEO and founder of a business. He stood up and said, people are losing part of why they are here, and that was the networking element he was referencing. And I can tell you from personal experience, that showing up portion, being consistent in people's lives, socially, professionally, just gives you a brand. And I know the podcast has spoken about brand, but it gives you a brand on how people perceive you, how people talk about you when you're not in the room. And it's such a critical component of that networking element. You mentioned that if someone asks you for advice and you can't give it, you are able to point them in one direction. And I think if we all go out within the networking, or when you engage on how can I give first without expecting anything in return, the world will be a better place. And that's exactly what Esron is all about as well, is listen, let's give the business an opportunity to be sustainable so that we can impact the people and the employees behind it. So when we engage in networking, we need to be conscious of, listen, how do we structure the conversation? Is it a constructive conversation, or is it just a conversation? Are you looking on how you can add benefit or extract benefit? And people pick up on that. And part of that talk I did a couple of weeks ago spoke about the open hand. I learned a phrase from also one of the other mentors at the university, is it's about the head, the heart, and the hand. The head is your skills and ability. Your heart is why you do it, that empathy and sympathy. And then the hand is giving first before you expect anything in return. If we go out, and that's part of how I network, is I want to see, listen, how can I give value? Because that also gives purpose to me. And having that network, having people on the speed dial, quickly pick up the phone and call them, it's nice. It's for ourselves, but it's also nice. Listen, I can't help you now, but speak to this person. They might be able to help you. You've added value, although nothing happened, and it didn't cost you anything. So for me, the networking element is something that people should be exceptionally conscious of.
Also, it gives you credibility in terms of
that's true.
just protecting the person that you have a relationship with, but also say to establish or to continue forming and building that relationship with someone that if someone else asks you, you are able to do this number out or to connect the two because you do have that relationship. And I think that being that person in the middle also builds your relationship value into two directions then, and gives you a future reference to whatever might come up. And now we've run out of time. I want to end off like we always do and ask you that very difficult and involving question of whether or not you believe that you are currently in the right place.
I think if I have to position myself, and this is always a moving target, not calling myself a high performer, but high performers always move their target for themselves. I think I am at the right place because I can see the value, the engagements I have when we exit the room. You see a relief, you see a clearer goal, you see the sparkle in the eye. But that's for now. That's where I am now. I would envisage multiple businesses. I want to have Esron as the name for people to call to assist navigating the complexities and pointing them in the right direction. And that's truly to impact as many people positively as we can. And that's by supporting small businesses, corporates. So that target will always move. We have a finite amount of time and resources, and we need to extract the maximum out of it.
Very good. Thanks so much. I appreciate the time. It was, as always, very good to chat to you. And I think I've also learned a few things in this process. And Like I said, the sports references in the beginning will always stick to me. And now that I know that story, I always associate that with what you've told me today. So I appreciate the time. I hope this gives you some value as well. And I think for the listeners, we'll put your last details in the YouTube channel as well, and in our podcast, and you can have a chat to him if you want, or otherwise just reach out to myself or John, and then we'll connect you. And further than to that, we'll see you next time at the right place.
Thank you, Rudolf.